Celine Rourke sat in the second row of courtroom 3B, back straight, eyes locked on the judge's bench like she wasn't just watching. She was measuring the room. She wore a crisp white blouse tucked into regulation black slacks, the kind of outfit that told the world she wasn't here for attention. She was here for impact. Her fingers rested calmly on her lap, but the muscles in her jaw ticked every few seconds like a clock keeping quiet time. 10 feet ahead sat her foster son, Lennox, barely 20, dressed in a cheap, oversized suit, and eyes darting like he was still in the alley where they'd found him. He looked at her every 10 seconds like a silent lifeline, and every time Celine gave him a nod, small but full of fire. It said, "I'm here. You're not alone." On the other side of the room sat Officer Dorian Velt, white, stocky, arms crossed like he was posing for a recruitment poster. He had that smirk, the kind that feels like insult even before he speaks. And behind that smirk was a wall of history no one in that courtroom could see. But Celine did. Dorian had arrested Lennox 4 months ago, said he found him near a torched convenience store, reeking of gasoline. Said he fit the profile. No fingerprints, no footage. Just Dorian's word. And in this city, that used to be enough. Not today. Case 42199C. The State versus Lennox Gray. The bailiff's voice cracked the courtroom tension like a stick snapped in fog. Lennox stood, chains around his wrists making a sharp clink that sounded too loud, too final. Celine's eyes didn't move, but inside, something tightened. The judge, pale and tired behind thick glasses, barely looked up. Proceed. The young public defender, a shaky kid with panic in his tie, stood. Your Honor, the defense calls Ms. Celine Rourke. It was like air shifted. Heads turned. Celine stood, not fast, not dramatic, just calm, like steel rising, even. Dorian turned, and for the first time since she'd entered, his smirk faltered. She walked slowly down the aisle, every step measured like a drill march. She passed Dorian's bench, and just as she did, he stuck out his boot. Not a stumble, not a misstep, a deliberate strike. Fast, sharp, cruel, catching her ankle hard. She jolted forward, body twisting, one arm shooting out for balance as her foot scraped loudly across the floor. But she didn't fall. She stopped herself mid-collapse and stood, dead still. Silence fell like snow. Everyone saw it. Even the judge looked up now. Celine's fingers curled, but her face didn't flinch. She turned, slowly, coldly. Her voice didn't rise, didn't tremble. Your Honor, she said, still steady, may I speak freely before I testify? The judge blinked, startled. You may? She stepped forward, facing the court. I've been under sniper fire. I've walked through chemical ash. I've dragged bleeding bodies off burning sand. And not once did an enemy strike me from behind in my own country's courtroom. Gasps, audible. Dorian shifted in his seat, suddenly aware the room was watching. Celine didn't look at him. She added, softer this time, If we let that stand, then what does this flag on my sleeve mean anymore? The judge froze. The bailiff stepped closer to Dorian. But Celine? She turned calmly and walked to the stand. That's when the whispers began. Who is she? Was that a threat? Why didn't she hit him back? But the truth was already loose in the room, coiled like smoke. Dorian Velt didn't realize it yet. But the woman he tried to trip? She was about to make the entire system fall flat on its face. The courtroom had barely settled after Celine's words. Dorian Velt shifted in his seat, arms no longer crossed, his smirk gone brittle. The judge cleared his throat, pretending everything was under control. But the silence that followed Celine's stand was too dense to ignore. She took her seat at the witness stand like she belonged there, not just legally, but spiritually, like her truth had finally found a microphone. The public defender fumbled with his notes. "Ms. Rourke, can you confirm where you were on the night of April 3rd? Celine nodded. "Yes, I landed at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport at 8:03 p.m. from a military contractor debrief in Nevada. My phone GPS confirms my arrival." She didn't just speak. She delivered. No stuttering. No fluff. Every word clipped. Clean. Military-grade clarity. "I called Lennox at 8:06 p.m. Call log attached. He picked me up at 8:21. We drove home. Our apartment complex uses RFID gate logs. I entered at 8:47. The log confirms this." The room leaned forward. "Security footage from our building," she continued, "shows both of us unloading my bags at 8:50. Time-stamped. Backed up to 2 cloud servers. Screenshots included in Exhibit C." The prosecutor blinked, flipping his notes as if trying to catch up. Celine didn't stop. At 10:15 p.m., Lennox complained of stomach pain. "We went to Southridge Urgent Care. Discharge forms at 11:41 p.m. confirm. We were there. Paid with my military credit ID. Transaction record attached." It was like watching an intel briefing, but sharper, more personal. There was something almost holy about the precision in her voice. No anger. Just proof. Just fire. Dorian Velt's jaw tightened. He whispered something to the prosecutor. Celine noticed and turned slightly toward him. "Just enough." "I wasn't supposed to testify," she said to the judge, "but when I saw the arrest report Officer Velt submitted, I realized something." "What's that, ma'am?" the judge asked. Celine locked eyes with him. He wasn't just wrong. He was confident. "He could be wrong and still win," the gallery murmured. One of the jurors leaned forward unconsciously, and then she did something no one expected. She smiled. Soft. Slight. Lethal. Dorian stood suddenly. "Objection. She's editorializing." "Sustained," the judge snapped, but the damage was done. Celine returned to her seat beside the defender, and when she sat, a subtle glance passed between her and a man standing quietly by the courtroom door. Tall, dark suit, face unreadable. Ear unveil. Former military, now civil rights investigator, and, once upon a time, the only man who saw through Celine Rourke's steel exterior, and stayed. He didn't wave, didn't nod, but his presence was deliberate. He was here for her, and that meant the system had just inherited another problem. That evening, outside the courthouse, Celine stood at the bottom of the steps, blazer on, wind brushing her braids. Aaron approached. Slow. "Haven't changed much," he said. Celine looked sideways at him, her expression tired but focused. "And you still show up late." He chuckled faintly. "I had to pull strings to get the raw courtroom surveillance." Her eyes sharpened. "Is it gone?" They tried, but I found the redacted footage in an off-grid archive. "And?" "There's no doubt, Celine. He kicked you. It's there. But more than that, your name is flagged in a security memo. They're spinning you as unstable, using an old psychological file." Celine went still. "That mission in Syria?" Aaron said quietly. "They're pulling it." She clenched her fists at her sides. "They're not just trying to discredit you," he added. They're scared you'll connect the dots. Celine looked at him. And what about you? You scared? Iran stepped closer. No, he said. I remember what you did in Tanner Province. If anyone should be scared, it's them. She met his eyes, and for a brief moment, the war, the betrayal, the closeness, it all flickered behind their silence. Celine turned away. Then we give them something to fear. The next morning, the courthouse buzzed with whispers. Someone had posted a blurry image on social media, a frame-by-frame of Officer Velt's legs swinging out toward Celine. The caption read, "She didn't fall, but he just might." Inside her apartment, Celine stared at her laptop. The screen glowed with restricted access requests and dead-end links, all leads connected to the footage they said didn't exist. Behind her, Iran leaned against the wall, arms crossed. They've pulled the hallway tapes, too. The footage from the judge's corridor, renamed and hidden under maintenance review? Classic play. Celine didn't blink. That's not good enough. She reached into a small wooden box, opened a false bottom, and pulled out a faded drive. Black. Dented. Old enough to look useless. Still using that thing? Iran asked. Still works, she replied. She plugged it in and navigated past firewalls with calm fingers. Within seconds, she was in. Not the courthouse's server. That had already been sanitized. This was deeper. A military echo cache, once used to route intel backups during off-grid operations. Most people had forgotten it existed, but Celine hadn't. 3 directories down, a misnamed folder. Logs, floor 2. She opened it. There it was. Raw, time-stamped, uncut. Footage from the courtroom. High angle. No sound. She watched herself walking past Dorian. His leg shot out. Her body jolted. He smirked. She paused the frame. Zoomed. Iran stood behind her now, close enough to see the image. He didn't even look angry, she said. Just satisfied. That's the look of a man who thinks someone gave him permission, Iran replied. Celine copied the footage. Once onto an encrypted drive, once into a dummy email vault, and once into a portable SSD she slid into a sealed envelope labeled Property of Attorney General's Oversight Committee. Backup's done, she said. You're still you, Iran muttered with a grin. She didn't smile. I checked something else, she said. I searched my name in federal clearance tiers. Came up flagged. For what? Unstable cognitive markers. Trauma indicators. Flagged 3 months ago. Iran frowned. That's after your Syria testimony. They're rewriting my profile, she said, and they're using a file I buried 8 years ago. Silence stretched between them like loaded wire. Finally, Iran spoke. This isn't just Velt. No, she said, standing. He's just the knife. Someone else is holding the handle. She grabbed her bag. Her expression had shifted. Still composed, but with something more dangerous now. Focus, not on revenge, but on reconstruction. That evening, they drove to the southern edge of Fulton County, a low-rise care facility surrounded by metal fences and dead grass. Inside was a name Celine had found buried deep in Velt's old patrol files. Callan Knox, black male. 37. Diagnosed with severe paranoia. Labeled unstable after resisting arrest. No family, no visitors, no charges. The receptionist didn't question them. When Callan entered the visitation room, his eyes were wary but sharp, like he was still trapped in the moment they broke him. Selene didn't waste time. Do you know the name Dorian Velt? Colin froze, his hands clenched. You remember something, Iran said. Callan nodded slowly. He dragged me into a cruiser, slammed my head twice, said I looked twitchy. I was trying to get my meds. Selene leaned forward. Do you remember what he said to you? Callan's voice cracked. He said, We don't need proof. We just need pattern. Selene sat back, jaw tight. That's what this is, she whispered. They're building patterns, not truth. Profiles that fit, so the system doesn't have to. Callan looked between them. You think this will help someone? Selene didn't blink. I think if you don't speak, no one will know your name existed. Callan nodded. I'll talk. Selene stood. Aaron followed. Outside, she exhaled into the wind. I'm going to burn their pattern down, she said. Aaron didn't doubt it, because this wasn't just about Lennox anymore. This was a trail, and it was still on fire. The courtroom was unusually packed the next morning. Not for Lennox, not for justice, but because someone had leaked the phrase classified vet versus dirty cop into the local press. Now, every eye in that room wasn't just watching. They were waiting. Selene entered with her chin high, blazer sharp, and expression unreadable. Behind her, Aaron watched from the last bench, phone silent, ears tuned. He'd already found the EE memo, the one where someone at the DA's office had tried to mark Selene as emotionally compromised. The stamp was real. The signature wasn't. Forgery. That made it federal. But first, this court. The prosecutor tried hard to sound composed. He called his next witness, Officer Dorian Velt. Dorian entered like nothing had happened. Clean uniform, cold stare, calculated arrogance. As he took the stand, he cast a glance at Selene. Small, smug, poisonous. And she stared right back. 10 minutes in, Dorian's lies began. Suspect was found near the fire site. Selene whispered to her attorney who stood and interrupted. Your Honor, the defense moves to submit security footage and GPS data proving the suspect's exact location at that hour. The judge hesitated. Is this the same file introduced earlier? No, Selene stood. This is the raw footage. She walked toward the bench and handed over a flash drive. The judge inserted it. The screen lit up. Timestamp. 10:46 p.m. Lennox and Selene in a clinic lobby. Clear faces, clear sound, clear time. The courtroom fell into silence. Then murmurs. Dorian twitched. Selene's attorney looked at him. You swore under oath. Want to revise your statement? Dorian swallowed. I must have confused timelines. Selene didn't move. Not until the attorney sat down. And then came the moment no one forgot. As Selene passed by Dorian's chair to return to her bench, he tried again. His foot snapped out. Faster this time. Meant to trip. To embarrass. To reclaim power. But Selene didn't just dodge. She struck. Her leg whipped around in a tight, controlled arc, heel connecting squarely with Dorian's chest. He reeled backward into the witness stand, crashing into the edge with a dull thud. Gasps. One juror shouted. A bailiff reached for her radio. Selene stood firm, breathing steady. She didn't say a word, because the message was already delivered. Silence strikes back. The judge rose, eyes wide. Ms. Rourke! Selene didn't look at him. She looked straight, into the nearest security camera. For the record, she said. I did not strike first. I responded. The gallery was frozen. Even Dorian couldn't speak. He was too stunned, too exposed. Cellini turned calmly to the judge. Permission to submit Exhibit G, the hallway footage from 2 days ago. Iran stepped forward from the back and handed a new drive to the court clerk. The screen changed. Now, a grainy angle from the hallway. Playback. Dorian tripping Celine. In plain view. It played twice. Then stopped. Not a whisper in the courtroom, just the hollow sound of truth echoing off marble. The judge turned to the prosecutor. Do you have anything to say? The man shook his head. No, Your Honor. Then I'll say it, the judge growled. Mr. Velt, you are hereby removed from this case pending investigation for contempt and misconduct. 2 officers approached. Dorian from either side, he muttered, You'll regret this. Celine didn't look at him. She said quietly, You already do. That night, the clip went viral. Not because of the kick, but because of the calm before it. No yelling, no chaos, just a woman who didn't ask for respect, but took back her space. And the internet didn't just clap. It listened. By dawn, the video had spread like wildfire. Celine's sharp counterkick. Dorian collapsing into the stand. Her calm. Voice? I responded. It wasn't rage. It wasn't revenge. It was control. And that's what shook people. Clips flooded every platform. This is what dignity looks like under pressure. She didn't attack. She reminded the room who she is. Talk shows debated her motives. Veterans defended her honor. Opponents labeled her dangerous, unstable, a threat, in heels. But Cellini didn't post a word. She sat in her apartment, laptop off, blinds drawn. Only Iran sat across from her, watching her fingers tap against a mug gone cold. They're trying to paint you unhinged, he said quietly. Using that Syria file, I know. And the fake psych memo, I know. They even pulled a still of your face mid-kick and slowed it down to make you look angry. Celine finally looked up. Let them. They're reaching for smoke. He stood, paced once, then stopped. You sure you want to stay silent? She nodded. They want sound bites. I'm giving them evidence. Later that afternoon, a live stream popped up under a username no one recognized. Lennox, unspoken. The feed flickered, and then a teenage boy's face appeared. Sharp jawline. Tired. Eyes, shaky hands. Name's Lennox Gray, he said. I wasn't going to talk. I didn't think it'd matter, but now I see it does. He looked off camera for a second. My foster mom didn't raise me on words. She raised me on truth. And what that cop did in court? That wasn't new. The chat exploded. Tell your story. We hear you. We believe you. Lennox continued. The night they arrested me, Officer Velt didn't even ask questions. Just shoved me in a cruiser. Called me a firebug. Said he knew I was guilty. He paused. I was bringing soup to Celine. She'd just gotten home from out of state. I had the bag in my hand when he slammed me against the wall. He reached down, lifted a crumpled photo, a Polaroid of Celine half asleep. On the couch, soup bowl on her lap, timestamp in the corner. I didn't speak up because I thought nobody'd listen. But y'all are listening now. So here it is. He ended the stream in silence. 10 minutes. No background music. Just a kid finally breathing. By evening, civil rights organizations posted open letters demanding Dorian Velt's full record be reviewed. CNN anchor opened her show with, "In the history of power abuse, silence has always been the accomplice. But this week, silence turned witness." Selene sat on the floor of her kitchen, back against the wall, Iran beside her, both staring at her powered-off phone. He glanced at her. "You good?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to him, tired but sharp. "What if this turns into something bigger?" Iran replied. "It already has." She hesitated, then said it. "You ever regret not staying?" He didn't pretend to misunderstand. "No," he said, "but I never stopped watching your six." A long pause. She leaned back, eyes closed. "It feels like war again." "No," he whispered. "This time, we're not just surviving. This time, we're rewriting the map." Selene exhaled, soft, still. And somewhere far away, a mural artist in Atlanta began sketching her face onto the side of a broken courthouse wall. No slogan, no caption, just eyes that didn't blink. The courtroom was silent, not empty, not noisy, just still. Every seat was filled. Reporters in the back, veterans in uniform, teenagers with printed signs, and right in the center, Selene Rourke, sitting tall, in the front row this time. Beside her, Lennox. No chains today, just a quiet face, jaw set, feet planted. He looked like he'd grown 5 years in a week. Aaron sat behind them, suit pressed, eyes sharp, holding the same black envelope Selene had once tucked the courtroom footage into. The judge entered, slower than usual. The gavel hit wood like thunder. "We have reviewed the motion for dismissal," he began. A pause. Acknowledging new evidence, including multiple contradictions in Officer Velt's testimony, and the court's responsibility to uphold truth. Over tradition. Selene didn't blink. "All charges against Mr. Lennox Gray are hereby dropped. Effective immediately." No one cheered. No applause, just breath, long, deep, released like smoke after fire. Lennox looked at Selene. She gave him the smallest nod. "I'm here. You're free." Outside, dozens of cameras waited, mics extended, voices flying. "Ms. Rourke, will you press charges? Do you plan to speak publicly? Was that kick planned?" Selene turned toward them, calm as always, her blazer crisp, her hair tied back with surgical precision. She offered a single line. "I didn't kick for show. I kicked because someone had to draw the line." And then, softly, almost like she was talking to the flag stitched on her shoulder, "Justice isn't loud. It just walks in and stays standing." That night, she sat on her apartment balcony, feet bare, a warm mug in hand. The city below blinked like it was finally breathing right. Lennox was asleep inside, his hoodie on a hook, his case file in the trash. Aaron joined her quietly. No conversation, just presence. After a few moments, Selene reached into a small wooden chest and pulled out a folded flag. Deep blue, soft from years of being touched and remembered. Her father's flag. The one they gave him after his final mission. The one they tried to take back when the headlines lied. The one she kept hidden all these years. She unfolded it, rested it on her lap. Aaron glanced over. "You finally opening that?" "No," she said. "I'm giving it air." Then she turned to him. "They called today." "Who?" "Federal Committee, Reform Task Force. They want me to advise." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "You going to?" Selene shook her head slowly. "I don't advise anymore. I build." He smiled faintly. Of course you do. She placed the flag on the railing. It didn't flap. It just lay still, like it finally belonged. The mural of her outside the courthouse was almost done. No caption, no slogan, just her silhouette. 1 foot forward, back straight, eyes wide open.